It started with the rain. Not the kind that hammers down in sheets or arrives with thunder's warning, but the soft kind. The quiet drizzle that soaks through slowly, as if sadness itself were leaking from the clouds. He stood at the edge of the shelter parking lot, shivering. The boy couldn't have been more than 20, maybe younger. Soaked to the bone, hoodie stuck to his skin, hair plastered to his forehead. One hand gripped a crumpled envelope, the other tugged at the broken strap of his backpack. He didn't look like the kind of person who belonged there. Not yet. She saw him from her usual corner sitting on the concrete lip near the generator. Plastic bags beneath her for insulation. Her coat zipped all the way up even though the zipper was missing. Teeth. She watched him, how he shifted from foot to foot like the ground burned. Like he hadn't quite decided whether to stay or run. And that was the thing about her. Marcy didn't always speak, but she saw things. Tiny, invisible things. The way people broke inward before they said a word. She stood slowly, carefully. Her knees weren't what they used to be. She walked up to him without saying anything and held out the umbrella. It was old, bent at the edges. Two of the spokes poked through the fabric, but it worked. Mostly, she held it out like it was nothing. The boy looked up, confused, then wary. I can't take that, he muttered. She smiled, crooked and soft. You can, you should, you're soaked. And then, without waiting, she pressed it into his hands and walked back to her spot. No name, no question, no lecture. Just that. He didn't say thank you, not then. Didn't ask who she was, or why someone living at a shelter would give away the one thing keeping her dry. But he took it, and sometimes the smallest kindness sticks harder than all the grand ones. The rain didn't stop for days, but he didn't forget her. His name was Theo. He'd never been homeless before, never even been close. His dad owned a dry cleaning business. His mom made jewelry in a rented studio over their garage. They weren't rich, but they were good, stable, solid. Until cancer took his mom, until grief took his dad, and then the shop closed. The bank called, the house was sold, and Theo, who thought he was just taking a gap year before college, was suddenly alone. The shelter was the last place he wanted to be, but he had nowhere else. That first night, he didn't sleep. The sounds were too loud, the walls too thin. The smell of wet clothes, industrial soap, and microwave food wasn't something you forgot. Marcy was asleep when he passed her, still sitting, head tucked against her shoulder like a bird folding in. He slowed, looked back once, then went inside. He didn't expect to see her again, but some people circle back when they're meant to. 3 weeks later, he saw her again, at the shelter. She was near the train station, hood up, a single glove on one hand, holding out a cardboard sign scrawled in blue marker, cold, hungry, not dangerous. He stared at her for a long time. She didn't notice, or maybe she did, and didn't care. He walked past, but something stuck in his chest, hard and hot and tight. He turned back. I remember you, he said. She looked up slowly. It was raining. He added. She blinked, then smiled. You were the kid with no coat. He nodded. You gave me your umbrella. She shrugged. Seemed like you needed it. He reached into his pocket. All he had was a 5. He gave it to her. It felt stupid, small, insufficient, but she took it with the same nod, same calmness, same unshaken grace. That night, he found a job washing dishes. 3 months later, he was bussing tables at a downtown restaurant. 6 months in, he was in a borrowed suit at a tech scholarship interview with a nonprofit that helped displaced youth. Returned to school, and he got it. Not because of his grades, not even because of his story, but because when they asked him who inspired him, he said, a woman who gave me her umbrella in the rain. Even though she was homeless, even though she was cold, even though I didn't thank her. They said it was the most honest answer they'd ever heard. He didn't know her name then, he still didn't, but every step forward he took, she followed. In his memory, in his choices, he never said it out loud, but it was true. He wanted to be someone she could be proud of. Years passed. Theo wasn't the kid with the backpack anymore. He was 26 now, clean-shaven, calm-eyed, one of the youngest. Partners at a startup that built sustainable housing for low-income cities. They called it modular equity. He called it second chances in steel and concrete. He didn't do it for praise. He did it because he knew what it felt like to shiver on concrete and pretend you were too proud to cry. He spoke at conferences, met with mayors, even went on TV once, but all of it, every accomplishment felt like just one long sentence waiting for a period that hadn't come yet. Then one day, it found him. An email from a local shelter he used to walk past on his way to school. The same one where she sat in the rain all those years ago. It was going under. No funds, no donations. The building was going to be repossessed. They were looking for buyers, or wrecking balls. And suddenly, the sentence had its ending. The paperwork took weeks. He didn't tell anyone. He paid cash, quietly, anonymously. He told his assistant to draw up a transfer deed, but keep the name out of public record until he gave the word. And then, on a Tuesday morning, draped in early spring fog, he returned. The building hadn't changed much. Peeling paint, cracked windows. the smell of rainwater and mold still clinging to the walls. But she wasn't there, not on the curb, not at the back, not under the tree where some folks lined up for breakfast donations. He asked around. An older man with a limp nodded slowly. Marcy, Theo's breath caught. That's her name, he asked. The man nodded. Sweet lady, don't talk much, but kind. Always gives away half her food. Haven't seen her lately though. Got sick last winter. Heard she was moved to a temp shelter across town. Theo's voice was quieter than he expected. Do you know where? The man pointed 3 buses. 2 hours. One last hope. He found the shelter tucked behind a faded laundromat. The kind of place no one photographed. A cracked red door, a buzzer that didn't work the first 2 times, a woman with gray braids and tired eyes, finally let him in. Here, for intake? She asked. No, he said gently. I'm looking for someone. Her eyes narrowed, not in suspicion but in defense. She'd seen too many people looking for the vulnerable, and not always for the right reasons. She's older. Name's Marcy, he said. She used to stay at the Eastway shelter years ago. Gave me an umbrella once, changed everything. The woman stared at him a long time. You a reporter? He shook his head. No, just someone who owes her. She sighed and turned. Come on. The hallway was narrow, full of uneven footsteps and distant coughing. The woman pointed to a room near the end. She doesn't talk much, has trouble remembering sometimes, but she's sharp underneath. You'll see. He knocked once, then opened the door. There she was, sitting on a cot, thin quilt over her knees, hands wrapped around a paper cup like it was spun glass. Her hair was grayer now, her face more weathered, but the smile it was the same. Soft, crooked, kind. She looked up. And blinked. He took a step in. You gave me your umbrella once. She tilted her head. It was raining. You were sitting outside the Eastway shelter. I was 20, lost, wet. You handed it to me like it was nothing. Silence. He didn't expect her to remember, but slowly, her face shifted. You were shivering, she said quietly. Didn't even have a jacket. He exhaled, smiled. That was me. Marcy smiled too, smaller, but real. Guess it worked out, she said, eyes twinkling. He sat beside her. For a long time, they didn't say much, and sometimes, that's all a reunion needs. He visited every week. Sometimes he brought coffee, sometimes books. Once, he brought a strawberry tart and watched her eyes go wide like a child's. They didn't talk about the past. Not in full, but she asked questions. What do you do now? He told her. Housing equity, urban shelters, emergency modular units. She nodded, though the words didn't mean much to her. You like it? She asked. I love it, he said. I build homes for people like me. She looked at him, surprised. You don't seem like you. He smiled. That's because someone helped me become something else. She didn't argue. He didn't need her to. On a Friday morning, he walked into her room with a file in his hand. She looked up. Trouble, only if you hate surprises, he said. He sat beside her and opened the folder. Inside was a photo. The shelter, the old one. Eastway, only now it was painted. Repaired, windows fixed, roof sealed, a garden out front, a new neon sign with soft, warm letters. The Marcy House. She stared. Then blinked. You. He nodded. I bought it, rebuilt it, named it after the woman who gave me my first shelter in the rain. Her hand shook. Not from age, from something deeper, a weight lifting she never expected. No one's ever named anything after me, she whispered. He reached for her hand. Then it's long overdue. She didn't cry, but her eyes glistened, and that was more than enough. The grand opening wasn't grand, it was small, quiet, intentional. A local news team came by. A few donors, some residents, and one old woman in a blue coat who stood near the door, holding a new umbrella. It had never rained that day, but Theo smiled when she carried it anyway. He gave a short speech, said something about dignity, about redemption, about how one act of kindness can echo louder than 1,000 words. But the best moment wasn't the speech. It was when Marcy cut the ribbon, hands trembling, shoulders proud, and for the first time, in a long time, she didn't feel invisible. She didn't stay at the new shelter. She moved in with Theo later that year. He had a guest room, and no one to cook for. And she liked to hum while folding laundry, even though she got the sleeves wrong half the time. She never asked for anything. But she gave him more than she knew. Stories, recipes, quiet truths, and late-night conversations over cocoa. And when he got married 2 years later, she sat in the front row, wore a lavender dress with new shoes and a pearl clip in her hair. Everyone asked who she was, and he told them, she's the reason I'm standing here today. Marcy passed away on a spring morning. In her sleep, peaceful, hands folded, face soft, he buried her beneath a cherry blossom tree in the garden of the shelter she gave her name to. On her gravestone, he had carved, she gave shelter in the rain, and left light in its place. Every year after that, on the anniversary of the opening, he returned, sat on the bench beneath the tree, closed his eyes, let the wind carry memories. Sometimes, people asked why he named it after her, and he'd say, because she didn't just give me an umbrella, she gave me a future.